Someone is lying in Imperfect Woman, and after watching episodes 1 and 2, I don't think Eleanor is telling the whole truth about the night Nancy died. There are missing pieces in the timeline, a secret affair, and a husband who may know more than he's letting on. Let's break down the clues. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're breaking down Imperfect Woman episodes 1 and 2, including the hidden clues and my theory about who may have killed Nancy. This series is based on a novel of the same name. I haven't read the book yet, but I actually considering because I might do a book versus series comparison video later on. Let's start with the episode 1 titled Eleanor. In the first episode, we hear Eleanor narrating the story of her friendship with Nancy and Mary. Unfortunately, we learn that Nancy, one of her best friends, has been murdered. Throughout the episode, Eleanor is telling detectives her versions of the event from the last night she saw Nancy. Eleanor was the last person to see Nancy alive that night. The episode then jumps back 11 hours earlier when Eleanor is at work and receives a text from Nancy asking her to meet earlier because she needs to talk. Nancy even sends another message emphasizing that it's important. But what's interesting is that between the moment and Mary's birthday dinner that night, there's a missing piece in the timeline. I thought that was kind of a little bit strange because once Nancy sent the text message, I thought the next scene was going to be Eleanor talking to Nancy about what was so important, but that didn't happen. That just skipped right straight to Mary's birthday dinner scene. Now, what exactly did Nancy tell Eleanor, and why didn't Eleanor fully explain that conversation to the detectives? We do learn that Nancy has been secretly seeing a man named David, even though she was married to her husband, Robert. What really caught my attention is that Eleanor tells Robert that Nancy was cheating on him. When I seen that, I was like, was that really necessary? Now that raises a huge question. Why would Eleanor reveal that unless she had her own motives? Because basically she should have just mind her business and just told him on the phone like, hey, last time I seen her was at the birthday dinner, and that was it. Let me know in the comments if you were in Eleanor's position. Would you have told Robert about Nancy's affair? For me, I wouldn't have said anything, especially she is my best friend. I'm just going to mind my business. But personally, I think Eleanor knows a lot more than she's telling the detectives, especially since this isn't the first time she knew about Nancy seeing David. The only person who seemed unaware of the situation was Mary. When Eleanor finally tells Mary everything, including Nancy's death and the affair with David, Mary is understandably upset. And honestly, I don't blame her. Eleanor's personality is also interesting. She seems very comfortable with open relationships and questionable boundaries, which might explain why she overlooks a lot of red flags. But one moment that stood out is when Mary says that Eleanor wasn't the only person Nancy confided in. Apparently, Nancy had concerns about the connection between Eleanor and Robert. That suggests Nancy may have suspected Eleanor had feelings for her husband. And the show kind of confirms that suspicion at one point. Eleanor ends up going to the ballet with Robert. At first she declines, but then she changes her mind. During her narration, Eleanor admits that she was protecting not only what they had, but also how she truly felt about him. That tells me Eleanor has been in love with Robert for a long time, but never admitted because he was married to her best friend. Eleanor might end up being a bigger problem in this story than we think, especially since she ignores Cora's warning that she doesn't feel safe around Robert. Now, let's move on to episode 2 titled Crush. Honestly, from the beginning, it felt obvious that Eleanor and Robert were eventually going to sleep together, and that is exactly what happens. But in my opinion, Robert may actually be using Eleanor. Eleanor's brother even warns her about Robert, saying she has a major blind spot when it comes to him, which is true. He also points out that their relationship might not work because of his family and the social pressure surrounding their interracial relationship. But Eleanor doesn't want to hear any of that. She clearly wants Robert to lean on her emotionally. She keeps protecting him no matter what. However, when Donovan tells her that she might just be Robert's backup plan, it clearly triggers something in her, because the moment in that scene, I was the one that told Robert that Nancy was cheating on him. He was like, oh, okay, I see what you're doing. You're trying to be the next backup plan for Robert. And that pissed her entirely off, because it's true. It is true what Donovan is saying to her, but somehow she's not listening. Meanwhile, Mary is determined to find out who killed her friend. She's deeply grieving Nancy's death and is struggling to cope with the loss. Mary becomes so obsessed with finding answers that she even starts pushing the police, harassing the police officer and confronting people herself. Eventually, Mary tracks down the address of Nancy's suspected lover, Davio, and they confront him. But it becomes clear that Davio didn't kill Nancy. Then near the end of the episode, Eleanor finds a letter Robert had written to Nancy, revealing that he already knew about her affair. That was a no-brainer whatsoever. I knew from the moment Eleanor told Robert about the affair, you could tell in his face that he knew. He was trying to pretend with that sad face and get upset. And then here go Eleanor just looking like, oh, you need a shoulder to cry on. And I'm just like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, Robert knew. And Eleanor fell for it. Like I said before, Eleanor is stupid. Her character is getting on my nerves. It's kind of pissing me off a little bit. She is believing everything of what Robert is saying, even when her brother suspects that Robert may be the killer. But she said, oh no, I knew Robert for a long time. He would never do anything like that. And I'm just like, you don't know what Robert is capable of. Even her friend Mary suspect that Robert may be involved. And once again, she's not even listening to her best friend that she knew over 20 years. So overall, episode 1 and 2 were okay. But I'm not gonna lie, it's a slow start. It is a slow pace. In some parts, feel predictable. Like, I already knew from the jump that Eleanor had feelings for Robert, and Robert just completely lying about what he did not know and so forth. And I'm just like, I don't know about this. And this is not the first time I've seen similar shows like this as well. And so I don't know if I'm going to continue to watch it, but we'll see. But however, I don't think Eleanor is the one who killed Nancy. That would almost be too obvious. Robert, on the other hand, is starting to look very suspicious. I do think another person may be involved. Named David was the one that unalived Nancy. My theory is that Robert may have discovered Nancy's affair and confronted her about it. Things might have escalated into an argument that ended violence. Another possibility that someone close to Nancy who knew about the affair and the tension in her marriage used the situation as an opportunity to frame someone else. Right now, the show seems to be pointing suspicious towards Eleanor, but like I said before, that might just be a misdirection. Who do you think killed Nancy, and what did you think about episode 1 and 2? In the next video, I will be covering Paradise, episode 7, and I'm also going to be covering From, that comes out April the 19th. Thank you so much for watching my channel. Please make sure you like and subscribe, and until then, see you later.